Hi there guys, and welcome back to the Tantrum Podcast Stroke Videocast. Today we're going to talk about something that I've been, I wouldn't say dealing with, but it's been affecting me for the last 2 years. And this was all brought to light one time 2 years ago when I was sat talking to a friend, looking deeply into her eyes, as you do. And she pointed out I had this unsightly lump in my right eyeball. I was pretty devastated, so I've always thought my eyes were my finest feature, and there's this beautiful girl telling me that I've got this hideous lump there. So I quickly run off into the bathroom, have a look in the mirror, and sure enough there, just on the nose side of my iris, on the inside side of my eye, there's this lump, this yellow lump sticking out of my eyeball. I'm quite terrified. I run back to Dr. Google, images of going blind and la 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 running through my head. Look at Dr. Google and find out, actually this is quite common. It's got an unpronounceable name, which I can't even remember right now. But it's basically caused by UV, or they think it's caused by a buildup of UV, grit, sand, things like this in your eyeball, which cause this calcium to build up in your eyeball and causes this lump. Now, I've since been to an optometrist who's assured me that it's totally benign. There's nothing dangerous about it, and you can actually have it cut out if you need to. Now, the only problems it can cause is if it gets into your iris, it can cause this weird swirly effect in your iris. And if it gets anywhere near your pupil, then that's the time when really they would start to think about cutting it out. And I've since spoken to a couple of guys here in Tarifa who've had it, and they've had it cut out as well. And you can't see anything. Their eyes look good as the day they were born. So it's not malignant. It's not dangerous. However, it's something to be aware of as surfers, kite surfers, people who hopefully spend a long time down the beach. Now, the obvious thing we can do to protect ourselves against it is stick on the sunnies. A good pair of sunglasses should have UV protection in. That should be your first critical part of protection against this. Should also prevent grit, sand, things like this getting into your eyeball, and so stop you from developing this in the first place, or at least slow down the development if you've already got one. However, there is a counter argument to this, and it runs something along these lines. That back 100,000 years ago, when our ancestors lived in the middle of Africa, where the sunlight is much more intense and the duration year round is much greater, do you think they had a pair of Ray-Bans? No. So do we not believe that perhaps Mother Nature, in her own infinite wisdom, created some kind of mechanism whereby it was useful for our eyes to be exposed to the sun? It seems we were going to be exposed to it most of the time, as the sun and the weather patterns in the middle of Africa were fairly constant through the year, in that sense, or from year to year, should I say. I would argue that probably yes. So what people are now discovering, or what has now been slowly being brought to life, is that our eyes actually act as a filtering system. That some of this UV coming into our eyes is actually needed by our body. It's needed by our blood, it's needed by different systems in our body. And that other various nutrients can come in through the eye, through the sunlight entering into the eye, which then, as the blood passes through the eye, some of these nutrients, bits and bobs, are filtered into the blood so we can use them in our body. Now, I am by no means an expert on this. I want to point that out straight away. It's something that I'm researching right now, and I'm actually very interested in because of, obviously, the lifestyle that we lead over here. But it does make sense to me that this mechanism would take place, that we certainly didn't have access to sunglasses 10,000 years ago, and that there's nothing in nature that I see that is inbuilt to not act in concert with its environment. Yeah, I understand that the ozone layer is disappearing. We're now getting exposed to a lot more UV, things like this. That's the argument for sunglasses, and it's a good one. But maybe, just maybe, there is a counter argument that would be wise to take into advice as well, take under advice as well. As I learn more on this, I will update. And as well, if there's any people who do know a lot more about this than me out there, please get in touch. I'm really interested to find out what the current thinking on this is. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Until then, see you soon.